back to the Woods Collab podcast. Mike has on his shirt today. He wants to show it off. Yeah. Hey. So my name is Nikisha Woods. This guy here is
Mike Woods.
And we are here to continue a conversation we started last week with finding your purpose. So this is Purpose Part 2. So before we dig into it, we are going to ask that you like, subscribe, and comment so that we can hear from you, because this is not only about Michael and I sharing our thoughts, but we want to learn from you all as well. So please remember to do those 3 things. All right, so Mike is going to kick us off with a recap on what we talked about the last time we hung out to talk about purpose.
Yeah, last episode was a great one. It caused a lot of self-reflection, and hopefully we were able to take that to start really thinking about what our purposes are. So that's what we talked about last week. So last week we defined purpose as the reason that something is created and to set as a goal. So we identified that as a purpose. We talked about what gets in the way of purpose. So thinking about those things that get in the way of why we were created, why we have those goals. And then we also talked about why it really matters. Mm-hmm. So when it's all said and done, why does purpose really matter? It's one of those terms that we hear a lot about, and we're drawn to that idea. It's like, hey, I got my purpose. Hey, this is my purpose. And it sounds cool, but we really dug into why does it really matter? Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do today, we're going to go really a step further to how we can really lean in and draw from and to identify what the purpose is and how we can go about finding that purpose or tap into it.
Yeah, and I love how you kept it real when you said that it can be like a buzzword. It's like, oh, your purpose. It's like synergy, right? Like people throwing out those terms, right, but not really identifying and discussing and unpacking what it is so that people can really feel that fulfillment that we talked about that comes from it, that value that we think about adding. And so in our talks and in our research and in our experiences, that's what we're always looking to share. We've identified purpose as being big picture. So it's not tied to a thing or a job. It's how you show up and how you interact. And it's that fuel that moves you forward when it comes to those different things, but it's not necessarily the thing, right? Mm-hmm. But we also identified 2 ways that really help us think about what is our purpose, right? And your purpose can be an evolution. It can be something that grows throughout time, but the core of what your purpose is will probably be consistent and stay the same over time. It just may look a little different and evolve as your life evolves. And so those 2 things are passion and skills. And so you probably picked up that that's what we were putting down in the last podcast, but that's where we ended up landing with that. And so when it comes to your passion, we want you to do some more self-reflection this time around, because this time you brought with you, like, what are you known for? What is that thing that you do really well? What are you drawn to? But what is that thing that you are passionate about? So that is the thing that really gets you excited. It gives you energy. It's the thing that you probably have done it for free. You probably would do it for free. Now, you might not advertise that, right, but it is something that gets you really invested from an energy standpoint. So, Mike, what are your thoughts on passion? How would you look at passion? How do you define it?
Yeah, I agree with that, what you mentioned. And it's the thing that if you stop and think about it, like you mentioned, the thing about you would do it for free. Now, maybe you could do it for free, but you probably won't, because you probably, we'll talk about being good at it as well later. But the passion, that's something that you're constantly thinking about. Is a lot of times it may show up in something that you can't let go. You're drawn to it. Sometimes you may be drawn to it and not sure why you're drawn to it. Mm-hmm. You find yourself doing something in that lane, and you might even question why you're doing it in that lane. Mm-hmm. But when you stop and think about it, it's because that's something that you're passionate about. You get very excited about it. You love talking about it. You love hearing about it. You love reading about it. And of course, you love doing that thing. And that could be passion. And I like how you mentioned as well, as far as it doesn't have to be tied to a job or a thing. But it's like, and forgive me, I'm not sure who coined the philosophy of the 5 whys and that sort of thing. But it's kind of like when you look at the 5 whys, when you're looking to get to the bottom of something or get into the root cause of something, you ask why, and then you ask another why, and then you ask another why. And you keep doing that because you're peeling back layers for that thing. So when it comes to that passion, or you said it's not necessarily associated with a job, you may see yourself doing a job. You may see yourself with a job title, but you start to think about, well, why am I really doing this thing? And then you say, okay, well, I get that, but why am I really doing this thing? Okay, to pay the bills. Okay, but why are I really doing this thing? Because I love being around people. Okay, well, why do you really love being around people? And then once you get to the core of it, you're really operating within your passion.
Nice.
So you may look and you find yourself doing these different things, doing these different jobs. And you might say, okay, the job may come and go, but this passion with this thing, it still exists and it still lies.
Yeah, and I think something that people might think about passion is that you always feel like doing it. Which is not the case. Right. It might be something that you absolutely love to do, and it's still work, right? There's still the time investment. There's still the push and the perseverance that has to happen. But when you're in it, you feel rejuvenated, you feel energized, you feel hyped, you feel excited, you feel accomplished. And you feel very, like it's a very rewarding experience after it. And so I think that that is something that, you know, you're drawn to it and you receive energy from it. It doesn't always mean that you are like running at a full speed 100% of the time, because we're human beings. We might get tired. We might not feel like doing the thing we're passionate about. But at the end of the day, if we had to choose between that and something else, we're going to go with that thing that we're passionate about. Yeah.
And that passion is going to come with, it'll come with some darts. Some darts will come with some obstacles and that sort of thing. They'll come from the left and come to the right.
Yes.
But when it's all said and done, you're like, okay, it doesn't really matter because this is something I'm still passionate about. You could be passionate about helping others and helping people or collaborating with people, but that don't mean sometimes people may get on your nerves.
Yes.
You might be like, oh my goodness, here we go again. But then when it's all said and done, you do it because that's something you're passionate about.
Yeah. And then the other thing, the other ingredient that we already let you know, that's a part of finding your purpose is skills. Like, what are you good at? It is the thing that you do well. And what I found about talking to people around skills is sometimes people don't know what they do well. And they don't know what they do well is because it's innate to them. It's very natural. It's the thing that they're doing. And then people are like, whoa, you know how to do X? And you're like, yeah, everyone does. And they're like, no. Right. And so I've talked to people in my experiences in coaching and mentoring and making sure that they go talk to people that they trust and that they know and ask them what those skills are, because sometimes we can take those skills for granted and we're not even really thinking of it as a skill. But it's something that you're good at that really is something that people rely on you for, that people lean on you for. You may find yourself showing other people how to do it. It may be something that it takes me 5 times to hear it, but my husband, he has that natural skill like math. And he's able to understand it and move quicker when it comes to that thing. What are your thoughts about skills?
Yeah, that's a great combination. Like that's the secret sauce, if you will, when it comes to passion, as far as like when it comes to purpose, passion and skills. The thing, like you said, the thing that you're good at, you do it well. It might come natural, or it could become something that you put some time in to get to that point. Totally agree. But ultimately, you need both. When it comes to far as like purpose, both play a role there. Now it could come with a different mixture where you might need a cup of passion and maybe a teaspoon of skills here and there, or you might need a cup of skills and maybe a teaspoon of passion. But when you put those ingredients together, you definitely will find some purpose. Sometimes you may need more than one or the other. It all depends on what you're doing, but you got to have the two, or look at having the two or taking advantage of the two in order to really tap into identify what that purpose is.
Yeah, you have to have an awareness around those things, right? That's why we talked about asking someone, like, what is the thing that I'm really good at? Reflecting on what that passion looks like for you. But we had a really interesting conversation before we recorded today about our son, who he's been in advanced math and math Olympiad for I don't know how long. And he's really, really good at math. His last math teacher called him a mathematician. I was like, okay, that is not what I am. So he's really good at math. He's taking German right now in high school. And we thought about, okay, what if he ended up in something engineering related? And so you were having that conversation with him. You want to talk about what that conversation looked like?
Yeah, so we were looking at, I was talking to him about exploring the engineering field, and with his skills in math, his advanced level skills in math, and also by him taking German, that's a pretty unique
Skill
combination
set.
right there. It's a pretty unique combination. So we say, okay, well, what about engineering? And maybe there's something that he explores that will ultimately be his decision when it comes to making his career choice. So it seemed like he would be very fitting for that. Advanced level in math, studying German, boom, engineer. There's some pockets right then and there. You can ultimately write your own ticket, as some would say. But then when it comes to him right now, he's like, well, math isn't passion. He doesn't have a passion for math.
Not at all.
So that's not where the passion is. So now you got to maybe look at purpose in a different fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it's like, okay, you could be very good at something, but if your heart is not in something, or that's something that you just don't want to do,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe you can explore doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that mixture of the right amount of passion and the right amount of skills in order to get the purpose,
Mm-hmm.
where it plays a role.
Now, passion might be a little bit more difficult to grow, but skills, we know you can absolutely grow. So on the flip side of it, if you are someone that's passionate about like imparting wisdom in people and sharing knowledge and speaking to people and getting them excited and motivating them, but you do not have the skill of public speaking, you can take classes and you can actually practice and build up that public speaking skill.
Mm-hmm.
And so that passion is going to be that driving force to motivate you to sharpen those skills. And so there's things you can do, classes you can take, things that you can do to build that skill, to balance out that passion and skill so that you can actually operate in your purpose. So absolutely, needing both of those two ingredients, super important.
Yep. So what do you think about as far as how, so when you're talking about, and we sort of alluded to this earlier, when we talk about passion and we talking about skills, what can we do when those things get challenging or difficult?
Yeah, I think that's the part where if we are distracted by, okay, this is not the job that I want right now in my life and my career.
Mm-hmm.
This job doesn't particularly pay me the amount of money that I feel that I'm valued at. This is a job that maybe I don't like the leader, or, maybe some of the pieces of the company I disagree with. That is where we're focused on the job and not the purpose. Mm-hmm. Right? That is when we're focused on the thing and not how we are showing up. And so those things that are real things and real experiences can become a distraction. And we're not really focused on the parts of that job or the parts of that career that really help us to be passionate or to feel fulfilled, and finding ways to make that happen. Really just leading into how can I add value? What are the skills that I'm bringing to the table? And so I think that for me, taking the thought and the energy off of the job, the money, the situation that I'm in temporarily, and focusing big picture more on the purpose was helpful. And then using that as a way to open the door. So if people see that even though this might be a job that you don't love 100%, if they can see you show up with passion, the passion that you have around it and the skill set, I think that can open doors into what you are really purposed for. Mm-hmm. And you can really show that in those different arenas. What do you think?
Yeah, and it's one of our favorite words as far as being intentional about it as well. Because like we said, mm-hmm. those things that can get in the way, it could be some external forces that, of course, we don't have within our control. Those things get in the way, but also we may get in our way for ourselves as well. And it comes with our perspective, our philosophies, our ways of going about things that we're accustomed to as well. Mm-hmm. But just being very intentional in that thing. So like you mentioned, like how you show up, that's important. The time that you're putting in or not putting in order to build on that skill. Yep. That's important. Yep. That self-reflection, see, hey, is this something I'm passionate about or not? That's important as well. And also understanding like the risks that are associated with it. So there's sometimes we say, hey, if you might identify, hey, this is not within my purpose. This is not within what I feel that I'm destined to do or what I want to do. Calculate the risk as well. Mm-hmm. And maybe time to move and do something else. Yep. And maybe time to explore a different opportunity.
Yep. Or it could be that you need to work on your skills and leaning into your passion outside of work, right? Maybe that in real talk, like you have to pay those bills and this is something that you understand is temporary and you're finding ways to be passionate about that and show up in the right way in that space. But then after work, you might find yourself, if you know your purpose is to write and share your writing with the world, then you're writing your book after work, right? And you're finding that energy and pushing yourself to do that. So I think that it can happen in lots of different places because we only work 40 hours a week, most of us, right? Maybe 50 hours, but then you have a whole lifetime of time outside of that little window of time where you can show up this way.
Exactly. And one of the things where, and I love you brought this up as far as how do you know? Because you maybe say, all right, well, maybe I need to work on this, or maybe I need to work on that, or maybe this is the purpose, maybe that's the purpose. And when it's all said and done, we're not sure. You know, maybe not be sure, but I love how you mentioned when we were discussing before we recorded, connecting the themes. So when you connect those themes, that could also help you to identify what that thing is. So when you identify what the thing is, now when you go outside of, when you have time for yourself, now you can start to maybe reflect or research or read or study on how you can get better with that skill set, or maybe work further to identify what the passion is. Connect to those things. So I'll give an example. One of the things I personally enjoy doing, I enjoy the motivating, I enjoy speaking and public speaking and things of that nature. I'm passionate about that. I'm passionate about that, and I've worked to build that skill set as well. But when you're talking about connecting the themes, there's been a lot of times where that passion has come across in ways where others have even been able to see it and bring it to my attention. And then even going back further, when I did my first speech when I was 5 years old. I was 5 years old and I did a speech in front of an auditorium full of people. And I was 5 years old. Now at that time, I wasn't thinking about this passion for public speaking. I was doing this speech because I had to do the speech. And I didn't, at the time, I didn't shy away from it. But then when you look back over my life, when I look back over my life,
amen.
that thing was always there. So as I think about, and now everything is not like that. But when I look back and I connect the themes over time, I was like, okay, that's something it just so happens that's something I've been very passionate about. And I could take that thing when I was 5, and that'll help fuel me right now. But connecting those themes over time. You had any examples like that?
Oh yeah. So I talked to you about, trying to help you find a job. I talked about moving into human services. But then I ran a mentoring organization, and I thought that my purpose was to run this mentoring organization for young women in Detroit. Very specific purpose, I thought. But the theme was to help people, right? That's what the Woods Collab is really about, is to really help people. And so my purpose is still showing up in different ways. And so I would say I can definitely see the themes throughout my life as well.
Yeah. So that's important to do as well. Take a minute and think about that. Connect those themes. Like think about, go back yesterday, go back last week, go back last month, last quarter, last year, last 5 years, 10 years. And think about those things, and then you may have that aha moment and say, wow, you know what? That's something that I'm good at, or that's something that I've enjoyed doing, or wow, that's something that I've really spent some time to invest in. And that'll really help you to identify that passion, or to realize that maybe you've already tapped into what your purpose is.
Tap into the vision.
Tap into the vision. So we talked about, those things that you're, that all associated with those things that you're drawn to. So the things that when you hear about it, you find yourself leaning in, kind of listening in more. Or you may see an opportunity, say, oh, yep, that's it right there. You may lean into that. You're good at it. You may lean into that. You get excited about it. So you may lean in it. You're talking about it. You're like, hey, wow, you're very passionate about this conversation. So what about those things where, let's say we may think that it's our purpose or our passion or our skill set, but there's it doesn't come with good. It may have been associated with some type of pain and that sort of thing. How can we push that through? Because sometimes there's pain. What did you say before? There's pain in your purpose, pain in your passion. So how do you deal with that if maybe it's not all good things? Like I talked about the situation when I was 5. that was a pleasurable moment. And I think about that and I smile upon it now because that helps fuel me now. So when you talk about those things that are not as pleasurable, how do we take those experiences and turn them into purpose?
So I think that goes back to when we talked about having the passion for something, but that doesn't always mean like you feel like it, right? I have a passion to help people, but sometimes I'm like, oh Lord, like I'm out of gas today. I can't do it.
Right.
But because it is something that I'm passionate about, it typically shows up in different ways, and I find myself pressing through so that I am able to make the impact. Sometimes things are just stepping stones, right? It's not something that is a forever home for you. And we talked about like dipping if you don't have the passion or you don't have the purpose. And those things are both missing. And no matter how you try to find the passion in what you're doing, you just can't seem to find it. And you might feel yourself getting a little stuck. Thinking about it as a stepping stone and using that time to really build those skills and really research what that passion is and other arenas for that passion to show up to fuel you so that you can move past it. So I would definitely say it's not a one size fits all, but it's really like, where are you in that space? So how can you reflect so that you can move forward, so that you can put yourself in the right position? And sometimes we're in situations where we're like, this is not it. I don't like it. Nothing about this feels good. But when you look back over your life, right? When you look back over your life, and you think things over, you start to realize that, hey, that job or that opportunity that I had, that situation that didn't feel right, that relationship, it wasn't for me at that time, but now I see how the things connect, the dots connect, and the things fit right now. So think back when you're thinking about reflection and themes, like those situations, even that didn't feel good to what Mike is saying, how did they move you and prepare you for the spot that you're in now so that you can get closer to living your purpose?
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. And then as sharing a vulnerable moment, there was positions I went out for, got declined. Nope, got that no. Like you said, pain.
Like, but I got passionate, I got skill.
Exactly. Like, nope, maybe that wasn't the vision. But then over time, you still work on those skills and you start to get more clarity with your passion. If that's the purpose, the thing is going to happen anyway. And
the door will open.
The door will open. Then next thing you know, you start to get yeses. You
Yep.
start to get yeses. So to that point,
or you create yeses.
Or you create yeses. That's right. That's right. That's good right there. It's not just getting the yeses, it's creating yeses. That's another. We might
Hashtag Woods Collab, right?
We might have to do a show on that, creating yeses.
Creating yeses.
Yeah, but it's not, don't let those things to steer you away, but use them as experiences that'll help to tell that story down the line. That's good. I like that one.
Good.
I like that one. So what else we got?
I think that's it. We would love to hear from you. Mike's gonna wrap us up today, but I think we're good.
Yeah, so that's good, y'all. That's how we can really tap into that. How we can tap into that purpose. So start thinking about that. If you haven't already, start thinking about that. What are you doing? What are those skills? What are those skills that you have that you're good at? What are those skills that you can work on? What's that passion? So when you're hearing about something, when you're reading about it, when you're talking about it, what are those things that you get really excited about? And think about that mixture. Think about the passion, think about the skills, and there could be your purpose right then and there. So it's so like we talked about before, there's so much that we can do with identifying that purpose and walking into that purpose and exploring and tapping into that purpose. So we want all of us to do that as well.
Yes.
So what we want you to do, give us some feedback, y'all. Give us some feedback. If you've identified your purpose, let us know what that purpose is. Let us know how you're walking into that purpose, or if you're still working on it, let us know those things you're working on. Let us know what you're passionate about. Let us know what those skills are so that we can all identify that purpose and walk into that purpose. I think this was a good topic.
I love it.
Love it. Love it. So y'all, again, please like, subscribe, share the Woods Collab podcast with your personal and your professional network. This is
Keisha Woods.
I'm Mike Woods. We are the Woods Collab.